Hi there everyone, it's Ed here from Bunch of Swines again. Today we're going to cook one of my favourite things on the barbecue. We are going to look at beef short ribs. So today, what we've got here, these are some amazing USDA grain-fed beef ribs. I'm just going to open this up out the cryovac. So these are chef's exclusive brand today. Just get this rack out and we'll start trimming it down. So I mean, wow, just look at the marbling that we've got going down on that side. So as you can see, this is quite a big cut of meat, so it's going to take a bit of cooking, but again, we're going to cook this on our Gateway drum smoker. Again, hot and fast, so we're going to cook this at 300 degrees Fahrenheit. First thing I need to do is get rid of all of this silver skin and sinew that you can see on the top here. Basically, that's not going to render out. It's not going to eat very nicely. A lot of people say that you want a fat cap on top because to stop it drying out, but in reality, that I'm not a believer in that. This marbling that I've got going through the meat, that's what's going to keep it juicy throughout the cooking process. So again, what I'm going to do is just put my knife, the tip of my knife underneath the silver skin, and then just try and take it off in one long big motion like that, and then basically just expose the meat. Wow, I mean, I've just taken one cut off of that corner, and I can see the marbling on it is amazing. So these are going to be pretty immense. So, very quick job just to get these undone, get these cleaned up. So with beef ribs, it's a bit difficult to pick them up and bend them because obviously the bone's in there supporting it. So I'll try and move it around with my dirty hand as much as possible. Okay. There we go. I mean, that's it. I just really wanted to get that silver skin off and that sinew, but you can see there. I mean, I've got really nice marbling throughout these racks. So that's all it is. I mean, there is this membrane on the back of the beef ribs. I tend to leave this on basically because it actually holds them together. I mean, the bones, I'm expecting them to pop out through the cooking anyway, but at least I can sort of push them back together. If I take that membrane off, it's just going to explode. So yeah, I'll get rid of those. So seasoning the beef ribs, it is a big cut of meat, but I don't want to over season it. So what I'll do, I'm going to use a couple of different rubs to build up my flavour today. So I've got a bit of one of my favourite rubs, Smoking Guns Hot, and then I'm also going to use a bit of Cosmos Q cow cover. What we're going to do here is just, from height, we're just going to put a light sprinkling going one way, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same, but I'm just going to change the direction of the shaker because that kind of just means that they interlock more, so I get an even coating, and then I'm just going to go back one more time like that. Okay, and then finally I'm going to do the same again, but I'm only going to do 2 coatings of the Cosmos cow cover. So just like that on 1 and 2. So we're going to leave these to sit. I mean, they're probably going to sit for probably leave them covered for like a couple of hours. I'm not rubbing the sides or anything like that because in reality it's all going to roll down the side as it starts to melt and drip and break down. So I'm just going to put this to one side now. We're going to let it sweat for a bit, and then we'll look at getting it on the drum smoker. Okay, so we've got the temperature up on our Gateway drum. We're ready to get ready to put our beef ribs on. What we're going to do, again, we're going to put a piece of cherry and a piece of hickory wood on there. These are kind of like the two main woods that I use for smoking, or especially beef. So I'm going to put these straight on the fire. Then we're going to basically place a rack down. I'm going to put a tray underneath so it catches some of that extra grease that I don't want going in the fire. And then we're going to lay that on a separate rack on top. So I'm just going to get that done. And literally just going to pick these up. You can see, you know, the barks, you know, the rub's all sweated onto the meat nicely. So these are going to come out real good. Helps to actually put the pan in. Takes it. So with the beef short ribs, basically I'm gonna let them ride now. 300 degrees Fahrenheit is the temperature I'm looking for. Probably gonna cook them for around about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. I'll have a look how they're doing after an hour and a half. We're then gonna do the old burn and turn on them. So we'll flip them over, get a bit of char on them before we wrap them up. So we'll see you back in a bit. Okay, so sadly at this point our neighbours decided to start playing some really loud music in the garden, so I figured I'd just do a quick voiceover and cover off what we're doing here. So the beef ribs have been on for a little over 2 hours at this point. Now it's time to get them ready to wrap. So what we're doing is taking them out of the gateway drum. Then we're going to lay them down onto the tin foil, and we're going to lay them meat side down. And then what we're going to use is a bit of Bovril as a bit of liquid to go into the tin foil to help them braise. Bovril, this is basically something that, a bit like Better Than Bullion or Miners if you're in the US. This just adds a bit more beefy flavour to it. It's like beef stock. And with that we added 1 tablespoon to about 250 millilitres of water. So now that's done, it's time to wrap. Take another 2 sheets of tin foil and put them on top, and then we can close up the sides, trying to make sure that we get all of the air, or as much of the air, out of the tin foil package as possible, so we can make sure that these ribs get a nice braise in that liquid, rather than just steaming away in there and sort of taking away all of our bark. So one of the problems when you're wrapping beef ribs, it does happen quite often, is where the bones are really sharp. You'll quite often end up going through a corner of the tin foil. So what we're doing here is just looking at it. Originally I thought it'd be fine and just let it ride, but then when on closer inspection it's actually quite a big hole. So we're going to make a little bit of a band-aid to go over it, a little patch to cover it. So we're just going to fold up some tin foil a few times. This is going to make it really strong to make sure that the bone can't break through it. But then of course you've got the difficulty of trying to get that to stick onto the tin foil that's already wrapped, as it were. So what we do here is actually unwrap the tin foil slightly, and then by unwrapping that slightly it allows us to put it back in, and then fold it into the crease along with the rest of the foil. But now that's all tight, that's now ready to go back onto the drum smoker and carry on cooking. So we'll probably check it in 2 hours just to see how the tenderness is doing, and see if we're ready to serve then. Okay, so our beef ribs have been on the smoker for a little while now, so I think it's probably been about 2.5 hours. I mean, 2.5, maybe 3 hours since we wrapped them. I mean, to be fair, these were really, really big beef ribs, so I'm not too surprised by that. So what I'm going to do now is get them out of the gateway drum. You know, one of the things I always think with beef ribs, I did probe them a bit earlier, and they did feel really tender, but when I got them out, they felt a bit tough. So I put them back in, just make sure they break down nicely. You know, I always think with beef ribs in particular, it's one of those cuts where, you know, you sort of cook them to where you think they're about right, and then cook them a bit more. So hopefully this bit more is going to come out good. So let's have a look. Okay, so just going to open these up quickly and see what we're working with today. Oh, definitely hot. So what I'm going to do now. Oh yeah, these are super tender. So I'm just going to try and flip them over just like that. Okay, put them down. Just going to get a cutting board in. So on here. So normally I would let these rest a bit. You know, I'd like to yeah, let them rest, let them cool down a bit, makes them a bit easier to eat. But you know, it's getting on, and you know, I'm pretty hungry. So you know, I'm basically just going to sauce these up quickly. You know, using a bit of this one here is a from Smoke on Wheels out of Kansas City. So this is their bootleg bourbon infused barbecue sauce, which, I mean, we've used this quite a few times when we were teaching classes. Sort of goes really, really well with beef. And actually, speaking with Andy from Smoke on Wheels, he says the same thing. So, you know, just going to give this a quick coat. Okay. Like that. Okay, just like this, and then we're going to cut in and see what the result is of these. So, you know, I can line these up, go straight in between the bones, and let's see what the end result is. Oh. I mean, these are really, really soft, which is lovely. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for. So, I mean, so that's our finished beef rib. You know, I mean, I could do the you know, the smash, but you know, I want to eat these. So, but you know, you can see lovely big beef rib, nice big smoke ring running through it. You know, it's nice and juicy all through. Beautiful. These are going to taste fantastic. So to be fair, I'm not going to wait. I mean, look at that, so let's have a oh wow. Hi, really, really good. So I'm going to tuck into these. Yeah, we'll put in a description any details of the rubs, the meats, and everything else, where you can get everything from. Yeah, we'll be back soon with another video.